Good morning. I want to thank everyone who has joined us today for this announcement we're making today. I certainly want to thank first and foremost two individuals who will also say some remarks. First, if I can make sure I introduce Brian Muehlberger. Brian is the father of Gracie Ann Muehlberger, who was unfortunately gunned down in the Saugus High School shooting in Santa Clarita in 2019. Brian will speak after I conclude my remarks. And then we're joined by Hannah Shearer, the litigation director of the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. The three of us, along with Frank Blackwell, the father of Dominic Blackwell, also who attended Saugus High School and also was gunned down, are four plaintiffs in an action we are announcing against the federal government today. And I want to thank both Brian and Hannah for participating in this press conference, and I certainly want to thank Frank Blackwell also, although he will not be participating as well. May I also mention some of the members of my team. Matthew Wise, one of the Deputy Attorney Generals at the Department of Justice here in California. He will be available to answer any questions that you might pose that go deep into the lawsuit that we are filing today. Also want to mention Mark Beckington, Supervising DAG at the Department of Justice, Thomas Patterson, Senior Assistant Attorney General, Phil Ferrari, Special Assistant to the Attorney General, Luis Lopez, Director of the Bureau of Firearms at the Division of Law Enforcement at the California Department of Justice, and Ed Medrano, who is the Chief of the Division of Law Enforcement here for the Department of Justice. We're here because we've got some news. And whether you think of it as good or bad news, it is important news. We're here to take action to demand sensible, common sense gun safety regulations that protect our children, our loved ones, our communities from preventable and indiscriminate gun violence. Today, we are demanding that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, address the threat of unregulated and untraceable ghost guns. For decades, federal law has imposed important common sense gun safety restrictions and requirements on the purchase and the sale of firearms in the United States. It prohibits, for example, numerous categories of people from purchasing guns, whether you're a minor, an individual with a disqualifying criminal conviction, person with records of domestic violence, those who are suffering from serious mental illness, or individuals who are addicted to drugs. Federal law requires any firearm sold or imported in the U.S. to have unique serial numbers, and that licensed gun dealers maintain identifying records, including the serial numbers of guns they sell and the identity of the buyer. And federal law requires licensed gun dealers to conduct criminal background checks on would-be gun purchasers, ensuring that weapons don't fall into the wrong hands. These laws have protected an incalculable number of Americans from harm, and they help our law enforcement officials keep our communities safe. But today, these protections are threatened by the rapid spread of ghost guns. These are weapons that are lethal. They are do-it-yourself projects that allow anyone at home to build a fully operable firearm within minutes, using nothing more than commonly owned tools and a prepackaged kit. Once manufactured and assembled, these firearms are indistinguishable from the serialized firearms that are regulated under state and federal law, and they are every bit as lethal. In fact, in some cases, they are even more lethal, as these kits can be used to assemble assault type weapons that are illegal under federal and certainly under state and California law. Anyone can make them, anyone can carry them, anyone can fire them. And because they lack serial numbers, these ghost guns cannot be traced by law enforcement agencies. These homemade weapons have tragically been used in mass shootings across the country and right here in California. From Santa Monica in 2013 to Tehama County in 2017 to Saugus High School last year. They have caused a great deal of pain and suffering. They've taken innocent life much too soon, and they have left an unfulfilled and very big void for those that are left behind. And yet, ATF allows these guns to go unchecked, despite having the authority under the Gun Control Act to regulate them. ATF maintains that untraceable, unfinished pistol frames and rifle receivers used to make ghost guns are not guns. That an unfinished rifle receiver or a pistol frame, which is nothing more than a piece of polymer or metal created for the sale and express purpose of allowing people to create a functional weapon quickly and easily, cannot be regulated like other firearms. This determination goes against logic. It goes against common sense, and it goes against the safety of our communities. The only logical intended result of a ghost gun kit is that it will become a firearm. That is why today, my office, the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, Mr. Muehlberger, Mr. Blackwell, are leading a coalition of parents who've lost kids, of community leaders who care, and of elected and appointed officials who believe that it is time to tackle ghost guns. We are suing ATF to correct this interpretation of what qualifies as a firearm. In today's lawsuit, our coalition argues that ATF violated the Administrative Procedure Act in relation to its policies on ghost guns for the following reasons. ATF's determinations are not in accordance with the law because they disregard the Gun Control Act, which refers to a firearm as any weapon designed or easily converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive, including the frame or receiver of any such weapon. And we also allege ATF's position change in its position, I better put, on unfinished frames and receivers used to make these ghost guns in 2006. That decision was made without reason and was arbitrary and capricious. Prior to 2006, ATF considered unfinished frames and receivers that are identical to the, quote, 80% receivers and frames, unquote, that ATF talks about on the market today as equivalent to finished frames and receivers. In the lawsuit, we are asking the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California to vacate these determinations and direct the ATF to classify these unfinished pistol frames and rifle receivers used to make ghost guns as firearm weapons, subject to federal firearm statutes and regulations. This threat to public safety can be stopped only if ATF reasonably applies federal law and agrees to regulate unfinished pistol frames and rifle receivers used to make ghost guns in the way it regulates all other guns. Today, because of ATF's failure to regulate guns, these ghost guns in particular, they are fast becoming the weapons of choice for illegal gun traffickers, for organized criminal gangs, and unfortunately, for mass murderers as well. In California, given the ease of purchase and assembly, an increasing number of ghost guns have been recovered in recent years by ATF and other law enforcement agencies. And year after year, the number of ghost guns continues to grow, including a surge of sales during the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in California, we will do our part to protect our communities and stop the indiscriminate loss of life due to gun violence. We owe it to these families who are suffering, who have left us so much to do it as soon as we can. We owe it to our children. We owe it to protect parents like Brian and Frank, who should never have to bury a child so young, so early in life. And with that, I'd like to turn now to Brian, give us his thoughts on what we need to do through this lawsuit. Brian?
Good morning, and thank you, Attorney General Becerra. My name is Brian Muehlberger, and as someone who has tragically lost his precious daughter at the hands of these easily obtainable ghost guns, I felt that it was important to speak up and bring this grave situation into the public's eye, alongside Attorney General of the state of California and Giffords Law. My daughter, Gracie Ann Muehlberger, was born on October 10, 2004. She was the daughter we'd always prayed for. You see, as parents, we had always wanted a baby girl. And after years of trying and praying and almost giving up, we were finally blessed with our first and only daughter, a girl we gave the name Gracie. As she grew up, we had many dreams for her, but as she got older, we also realized that she had many dreams too. She looked forward to getting out of middle school and entering high school, going to her first high school dance, driving a car for the first time, graduating high school and taking off for college, getting her first job, and so much more. But tragically, on November 14, 2019, only a little over 10 months ago, all of that changed. While Gracie stood in the courtyard at her high school, Saugus High School in Santa Clarita, California, after just purchasing her ticket to her first high school dance only a mere 4 minutes earlier, and while hanging out with all of her friends, discussing the weekend's plans, which included the buying of her dress and going to that first high school dance, and having what was supposed to be the time of her life. A premeditated murderer, a distraught and confused young boy, another student who had just turned 16 that morning, entered Gracie's campus carrying an easily obtainable ghost gun. And after spending nearly 45 minutes waiting in virtually the same spot in that courtyard for more children to arrive at school, and standing only 2 feet away from Gracie, he opened fire at 7:38 a.m., firing his homemade .45 caliber ghost gun directly into the back of my beautiful daughter Gracie, who had just turned 15 only 4 short weeks earlier. Then within 1 second, the murderer quickly cleared a jam from his gun and continued firing, killing another child, 14-year-old Dominic Michael Blackwell, and wounding 3 other innocent children, including Gracie's best friend, who was shot 2 times, Dominic's best friend, and 1 other student, then ending his own life with a single bullet to his head. In short, 8 seconds, Gracie's life, Dominic's life, our lives and the lives of the Blackwells, and the lives of so many young, innocent children at this school, their families, and our small community had been forever changed. Per the U.S. Secret Service, 2019, the murder of Gracie and Dominic was the youngest person to ever carry out a mass attack. And until that tragic day, I had never even heard of a ghost gun. Children aren't supposed to die at their high school. It's a place where you go to get an education, make friends, have fun, figure out who you are and who you want to be, and grow into a young adult learning to contribute positively to society. It's also not supposed to be this easy for anyone to get a gun. Let me explain. The murderer's deceased father had a documented history of substance abuse, domestic violence, and mental illness, and became prohibited from owning guns. After various incidents in the last few years, law enforcement deemed him unfit to own a firearm. But even though he couldn't pass a background check and buy a gun legally, there was nothing stopping him from going online to buy a do-it-yourself firearm kit. It's believed that that's how his son, the murderer of my 15-year-old daughter Gracie and 14-year-old Dominic Blackwell, got the ghost gun he used to carry out this attack. We all need to wake up and understand the danger here. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can buy these totally unregulated kits with just an internet connection and a credit card. And that's how my daughter's killer got his murder weapon. I still struggle to understand why it can be so easy to order a kit online that has no intended purpose other than creating a fully functioning firearm, and how the ATF could justify allowing ghost guns to be sold with no federal regulation. That's why I've decided to participate in this case, so that other families don't have to experience the pain and endure what me and my wife Cindy and young boys have had to go through. Let me reinforce just how easy it is to purchase one of these weapons. A few short months ago, I went online to one of the websites that sell these ghost gun kits. I entered my daughter's name, Gracie Muehlberger, and within 2 minutes or less bought a ghost gun kit using my personal credit card, which is in my name, not even hers. Gracie would have been about the same age as the killer, too young to buy a gun, but sure enough, the company mailed out the kit with Gracie's name emblazoned on the box. Had the company done any investigation, just Googling her name, they would have learned that not only was Gracie barely 15 and no longer with us, but that she was also killed by a ghost gun. It's that easy for anyone, including children, those with mental illnesses or past issues with violence, and those that are not legally allowed to own guns, including a dead girl, to circumvent our laws and get a gun. And I know there are other ways to obtain guns, but we shouldn't make it so easy to do so. Now, to be clear, I'm not against owning guns. I own guns, but I follow the laws where I live. I just don't want those that are not mentally capable of owning firearms or of legal age to own them, having the ability to get them so damn easily. I worry every day that my family again could become the victim of gun violence. I have to carry this worry with me every day because our country, and specifically the ATF, has done absolutely nothing to stop the proliferation of ghost guns and to protect its citizens from this major loophole in our system, a system that is supposed to protect us from these situations. And this infuriates me. Ghost guns are guns, plain and simple. They have absolutely no other intended purpose. They are designed 100% to circumvent the laws. The companies that are selling ghost gun kits are selling guns, plain and simple. The people who buy these kits, whether they're underage, whether they're prohibited from owning guns, are buying guns. Some might call these kits a tool for hobbyists, fine. But because non-hobbyists can buy them too, without any additional background checks, no checks and balances, this problem deserves the full attention of our leaders. The federal government must recognize the obvious point here, must call these things what they are, must live up to its responsibility to protect us, the American people, instead of failing us like they have failed. They have failed my beautiful and vibrant and full of life daughter, Gracie Ann Muehlberger. And I hope that if they do so, other families won't have to suffer the pain and loss and heartache that my family has experienced and continues to experience every single waking day of our lives. I truly hope and pray that this lawsuit will force the ATF to wake up, to do its job, and treat ghost guns like guns. That's all I'm asking. Thank you. I will go ahead and turn it over to Hannah Sher at Giffords Law. Hannah?
Thank you so much, Brian. It's a privilege to be here today with you and with General Becerra. I am the litigation director at Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. Giffords Law Center is the legal arm of the gun safety group founded by former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. Gabby Giffords became a fearless gun safety advocate after surviving an assassination attempt and a gunshot to the head. Under Gabby's leadership, Giffords Law Center works to turn the devastation of gun violence into progress and change. Just as Gabby does, just as Brian Muehlberger and Frank Blackwell are doing today for their children, the Law Center's gun violence prevention experts fight for the policies that will keep people safe. And we've made significant progress in the states where we work. California, for example, our co-plaintiff in this case in my home state, has made comprehensive efforts over more than 2 decades to strengthen its gun laws, and California saw its gun death rate fall significantly over this period. In recent years, California has also made critical direct investments in community safety, funding programs proven to interrupt cycles of shooting and retaliation and promote peace and community trust. I'm telling you about California's progress to help you understand exactly what is in jeopardy today because of ghost guns. California's progress against gun violence has been hard-won. It's taken many years, and it's taken the tireless efforts of leaders like General Becerra and his predecessors. And all of that progress, every law, every program, is being impeded and undermined by ATF's utter failure to regulate ghost guns. You've heard about the dangers of untraceable firearms from General Becerra and from Brian. If you can assemble IKEA furniture, you can definitely build a ghost gun. And you'll probably be able to do it faster. There are kits and tools that let people assemble a ghost gun in under 15 minutes. Yet, for no reason at all, the parts used to build ghost guns aren't treated as firearms under federal law. ATF has specifically exempted them from the federal definition of a firearm, meaning federal gun laws don't apply to them. As a result, people can order and build these guns without passing a background check or even verifying their age. This has opened the biggest loophole you can imagine in our federal and state gun laws. ATF's actions jeopardize each and every one of the life-saving gun safety laws that my organization advocates for. ATF's actions also harm our efforts to build peace in neighborhoods with the highest gun violence rates. That's because the ghost gun loophole allows unscrupulous sellers and traffickers of ghost guns to flood the gun market in places that otherwise have strong violence prevention policies. Our communities suffer the consequences while ghost gun sellers profit. The effects of ATF's misclassification of ghost guns are real and they are devastating. Today, 18 online companies are selling ghost guns to Californians, and ghost guns make up 30% of crimes, of guns recovered in crimes in our state. Ghost guns have contributed to violence in many California communities, and we've seen instances where they were used in violence by white supremacist groups and individuals. Those who use firearms to perpetuate hate against people of color are choosing ghost guns for obvious reasons. They're untraceable. and they're available online with a few clicks and a credit card. In this way, ghost guns are jeopardizing the progress made in California and in every other state in our nation. Our lawsuit demands a stop to this and takes the common sense position that DIY guns are guns. We ask the federal government to do the same and to comply with its obligations under the Administrative Procedure Act. Today, in partnership with Brian Muehlberger, Frank Blackwell, and General Becerra in the state of California, we continue my organization's fight against ghost guns. We demand accountability for the industry actors who are enabling gun violence to line their pockets. And we demand justice for Gracie Ann Muehlberger, Dominic Blackwell, and the many others killed by ghosts. Thank you so much, and I'll turn the floor back to General Becerra.